Hello, and welcome to the Murder House Radio Show. I'm your host, X. On this show, we will be covering serial killers, mass shooters, disappearances, true crime, and the most deplorable things and people in history. All that good, dark stuff. The Murder House Radio Show will be a radio show / podcast. I'll be uploading videos every Friday at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Once you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification and select all to get all notifications if you're viewing on YouTube. And hit follow if you're listening on a podcasting platform. So sit down, get comfortable, grab some coffee or whatever your preferred beverage is, turn off the lights, and enjoy the show. Hey guys, how's your Friday going? We're about halfway through the month, so hope your month's going good, and I hope your Friday is going good. The day I'm recording this, it's going pretty good so far. I can't complain. But let me know how you're doing down in the comments below. But as well, once again, if you wish to ask for any advice to be covered at the end of the podcast / broadcast, send it to me on the podcast email, which is in the description. And if you want to leave any suggestions for future episodes, drop it in the comments. But yeah, also all the sources and that stuff will be in the description below, so go check those out. But without any further ado, let's get into today's episode. Today's episode will be on Dennis Rader, aka B.T.K, bind, torture, kill. So Dennis Lynn Rader was born March 9th, 1945. He's an American serial killer, and he gave himself the name B.T.K for bind, torture, kill. And he's also known as the B.T.K Strangler or the B.T.K Killer. And he was doing his killings between 1974 and 1991. He killed 10 people in Wichita and Park City, Kansas. And he would send taunting letters to the police and the newspapers, and he would describe in detail his crimes. But, yes. After decades-long crime career, Rader resumed. He took a break sending his letters to the cops and newspapers, and he resumed sending letters in 2004, and leading to his arrest in 2005, and he pled guilty, and he is now serving 10 life sentences in El Dorado Correctional Facility in Prospect Township, Butler County, Kansas. Interesting. But that's a little recap on who he is. So let's get into his early life and his background and stuff before the murders. So Dennis was born to Dorothy May Rader and William Elvin Rader, and he was one of 4 sons, and his brothers are Paul, Bill, and Jeff Rader. So they were born in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Well, he was anyway, and he grew up in Wichita. And both of his parents worked long hours, and they didn't pay much attention to their kids. And Rader later described feeling ignored by his mother in particular, and he resented her for it. So maybe that's a reason for the killing. But not having your parents around as a kid can lead to some bad shit. Not necessarily killing, but just some bad shit. And then from a young age, Dennis harbored sadistic sexual fantasies about torturing, trapping, torturing trapped and helpless women. Ooh, that's that's wild. I wonder where he picked it up from, though. That's my question. But he also showed signs of zoicism, zosadism, um, cross-dressing. Um, oh no, zoidism is pleasure derived from cruelty to animals. It is part of the MacDonald tried a set of 3 behaviors that are considered a predecessor to psychopathic behavior. But he would torture, kill, and hang small animals, and Dennis acted out of sexual fetishes for voyeurism. That is the sexual interest in or practicing watching other people engage in intimate behaviors. So he's a cuck, basically. Autoerotic asphyxiation, so he liked being strangled and strangling himself, and cross-dressing, yes. Yeah, he has kids, so I remember saying once, like, imagine fucking your kid knew you liked to cross-dress, but he didn't know you were a serial killer. And fucking, he found your pictures or whatever, because he also took pictures of himself cross-dressing. So you have, like, a teenager, and you're getting in an argument with him, and he's like, why don't you go and fucking cross-dress, Dad? Wear your fucking dress and go fuck yourself. Fucking, that's a quick way to get murdered if your fucking dad's a serial killer. It'd be fucking funny as shit, though. Fuck's sakes. Okay. But yeah, he often spied on female neighbors while dressed in women's clothing. Imagine the dude I showed you in the picture staring through your window watching you get changed if you're a woman dressed as a fucking girl in a wig with some makeup on. Ooh, don't mind me. Fuck's sakes. But yes, including women's underwear that he had stolen and masturbated with ropes or other bindings around his arms and neck. Imagine walking in on your dad doing that shit, though, wearing a dress, a wig, female's underwear with a rope tied around his neck and his fucking hands tied up. That's fucked up, bro. Fuck's sakes. The only reason I laugh so hard is because I fucking pictured both scenarios. But yeah, it says here, years later, during his cool-off periods between murders, Rader took pictures of himself wearing women's clothing and female masks while bound. You can go see these pictures too, by the way, on the internet. Just Google Dennis Rader's cross-dressing photos. He later admitted that he was pretending to be his victims as a part of a sexual fantasy. Oof. However, Rader kept his sexual proclivities well hidden, and he was widely regarded in the community as a normal and polite and well-mannered person. Interesting. But Dennis attended Kansas Wesleyan University after high school, but received mediocre grades and dropped out after a year. And he served with the United States Air Force from 1966 to 1970. And when he was discharged, he moved to Park City, where he worked in a meat department of Leaker's IGA supermarket, where his mother was a bookkeeper. And Dennis married Paula Dietz, Dietz, on May 22nd, 1971. And they had 2 children, Kira and Brian. He did attend Butler Community College in El Dorado, and earning an associate's degree in electronics in 1973. And then he was enrolled in Wichita State University and graduated in 1979 with a Bachelor's of Science degree, majoring in Administration of justice. Interesting. Very interesting. Yes, much like the Richard Kuklinski interview, he admitted everything, and on the stand, he was talking in a very matter-and-factly type of way, and he just thought he was smarter than everybody, just a cocky son of a bitch. But Dennis initially worked as an assembler for the Coleman Company, an outdoor supply company, and he worked at the Wichita-based office of ADT Security Services. Oh, so that's how he'd be able to break into houses and shit too. That makes sense. Word. So he had an understanding. And then from 1974 to 1988, where he installed security alarms as a part of his job in many cases for homeowners concerned about B.T.K killings. So he had an inside scoop. And Rader was a census field operations supervisor for the Wichita area in 1989 before the 1990 federal census. So what's a census? Hold on. Census. A census is the procedure of systematically enumerating and acquiring and recording information about members of a given population. Okay, word. So in May 1991, Rader became a dog catcher and a complaisance officer in Park City. In this position, neighbors recalled him as being sometimes overzealous and extremely strict, as well as taking special pleasure in bullying and harassing single women. Oof. And a neighbor complained that Rader killed her dog for no reason. Oh, shit. I don't like anybody who hurts animals or children or women. But yeah, fuck around. Dennis was a member of the Christian Lutheran Church and had been elected president of the church council. Interesting. I did not know that. Dennis was also a Cub Scout leader, okay? On July 26, 2005, after Dennis's arrest, his wife was granted an emergency divorce, waiving the normal waiting period, okay? In an interview with ABC in 2019, his daughter Kira said she still writes to her father and has now forgiven him, but still struggles to reconcile him with the B.T.K killer. So she's still having troubles grasping the facts that he's the killer, word. And stating her childhood seemed normal and they were a normal American family. Some Ned Flanders ass shit. But yeah. So there is his life, like before and during the murders, before anybody knew he was a murderer. So with his first known murders, I'm pretty sure he started pretty fucking strong and took out 4 people, 4 members of the Otero family. And this was on January 15th, 1974. And this happened in Wichita, Kansas. The victims were Joseph Otero, age 38, Julia Otero, age 33, Joseph Otero Jr., age 9, and Josephine Otero, aged 11. Yo, those are all J's, bro. Damn. And their bodies were discovered by the family's 3-year-old child who had been at school when the killings happened. And when he was arrested in 2005, Rader confessed to the killings of the Otero family. Rader wrote a letter that had been stashed inside the engineer book of the Wichita Public Library in October 1974, which described in detail the killings of the Otero family in January of that year. Imagine finding that letter in that book. Like, you open the book and a letter falls out and it just describes a murder. That'd be fucking wild. And then it says here, between the spring of 1974 to 1977, Rader killed 3 more women. Catherine Bright on April 4th, 1974. Shirley Vian Relford, March 17th, 1977, so a couple years difference. and Nancy Fox, December 8th, 1977. Yeah, well, shit. And then in early 1978, he sent another letter to the television station KAKE in Wichita, claiming responsibility for the murders of Arturo's Bright, Vina Relford, and Fox. And he suggested many possible names for himself, including the one that stuck, B.T.K. And he demanded media attention in the second letter. And it was finally announced that Wichita did indeed have a serial killer on the loose. But yeah, that's a lot of killers' downfalls as their fucking attention whore lifestyle, I guess. Like on the Zodiac Killer for one, and then a few others that I can't really think of off the top of my head. But yeah, serial killers are some attention whores. A poem was sent or some shit titled "Ode Death to Nancy," a parody of the lyrics to an American folk song, Ode Death. In the letter, he claimed to be driven to kill by Factor X, which he characterized as a supernatural element that also motivated Jack the Ripper and the Son of Sam and the Hillside Strangler murders. Well, shit. Something else I did not know about this case. You learn something new every day. So he also tried to kill a few others, and one of these peoples was Anne Williams. In 1979, at age 63, she escaped death by returning home later than he expected. But Rader also did study his victims before he did his killings. So he's like, alright, she's most likely gonna be home by this time, but for whatever reason she was late. But Rader explained during his confession that he had become obsessed with Williams and was absolutely livid when she evaded him. And he spent hours waiting at her home, but became impatient and left when she did not return home from visiting friends. So there is that. And then there was a Mary Hedge, age 53, and she was found May 5th, 1985, at East 53rd Street North, between North Webb Road and North Greenwich Road in Wichita. And Dennis killed her on April 27th and took her dead body to his church, the Christian Lutheran Church, where he was the president of the church council, like I said. And there he took pictures of her body in various bondage positions, and Dennis had previously stored black plastic sheets and other materials at the church in preparation for the murder, and then later dumped the body in a remote ditch. That's fucked up. Imagine taking a body to any holy place of worship or whatnot. That's fucked up. Straight disrespectful. But he claimed his plan, Project Cookie. Well, shit. That's fucking... Okay, then. That's fucking something else. Something else. So it seems here, much like Israel Akis, his targets are random, but he would study his targets once he picked them, and everything was well planned out and of the such. But, yeah. And then it says here, in 1988, after the three members of the Fager family, Fager family in Wichita, a letter was received from someone claiming to be B.T.K. killer, in which the author of the letter denied being the predator of the Fager murders. The author credited the killer with having done an admirable work. It was not proven until 2005 that this letter was in fact written by Dennis. He is not considered by police to have committed this crime. So the Fager murder. I'm going to search this up just a second here. It says here on December 31st, 1988, Mary Fager returned home to Wichita, Kansas after visiting family for 3 days. When she walked into the house, she found her husband dead with 2 bullets in his back in the basement. She found her 9-year-old daughter, Sherry, naked and strangled in the hot tub, while her 16-year-old daughter, Kaylee, had been tied up with electrical tape and drowned. Damn. During the 1970s and 80s in Wichita, there was the sadistic serial killer active who had already massacred a family in 1974, so B.T.K. A few days after the murder, the police got a letter from B.T.K. that said he was a fan of the murder, but wasn't the one who had killed the faggers. After Rader's arrest in 2005, it was confirmed that Rader was indeed the one who had written the letter. The main suspect in the case was a man named William Buttersworth. He was a contractor who had been doing renovations on the faggers' house at the time of the killings. He was last seen December 29th, 1988, and he was found on the 2nd of January driving the fagger's car in Florida. Well, shit. He claimed that he could not remember the last 2 days, so the judge allowed him to put under hypnosis at the trial. In a hypnotic trance, he admitted that he had been at the fagger's house, where he had heard a disturbance and then seen the bodies in the house. Traumatized, he took off in the fagger's car to the different state to Florida. After a long trial, he was acquitted when only 2 jurors found him guilty. Well, shit. Simply put, he'd had no motive, and there was no witnesses to testify against him. The case remained open to this day, so it's still open. With Buttersworth being the only suspect, his whereabouts are unknown. Well, goddamn. I mean, you're caught in the fucking car, but why not call the cops, though? That's the fucking thing. That's the fucking thing, man. So it says here, 2 women that Rader stalked in the 1980s and one that he stalked in the mid-90s filed restraining orders against him. One of them also changed addresses to avoid him, so she moved. His final victim, Dolores E. Davis, was found on February 1st, 1991 at West 117th Street North and North Meridian Street in Park City, and Dennis killed her on January 19th. Well, shit. How did he kill his victims? Just a second here. Alright, as to how he killed people, it says here in court that he described in a nonchalant, matter-of-fact voice. He said he broke into the home of Joseph and Julie Otero and tied them up along with 2 of their children. He said he told them that he wanted just and needed a car, so like he's gonna rob them for a car and some food. He put a pillow under Joseph Otero's head to make him more comfortable. And then it says here, I realized that, I didn't have a mask on or anything. They already could ID me, Rader said. I made a decision to go ahead and put them down, I guess, or strangle them. Rader describes how he killed each member of the Otero family, but he said they did not die right away. He said, I had never strangled anyone before, so I didn't really know how much pressure you had to put on a person or how long it would take, he said. So B.T.K. was the killer's self-named reference to his preference to bind, torture, and kill his victims in a string of murders, blah, 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 blah. So, I'm guessing here, his main way of killing was, strangulation, and, maybe some stabbings and maybe some shootings, but the majority strangulations. He admitted to the judge that he prepared hit kits, equipment he used in killings, and as well as hit clothes that he wore and later got rid of. So, Rader said he chose Shirley Vanny, 26, at a random and forced his way into her apartment with a 357 caliber Magnum handgun on March 17th, 1977. Her children got real upset, so Rader had locked her in the bathroom before covering his head with a bag and strangling her. Okay. In more than one case, Rader said he took Polaroid photos of his victims after the killing. Okay. Rader also said he stripped his victims, tied her up, and took her to another location and took photos depicting different forms of bondage before hiding her body in a ditch. So, there's all that. There is all that. So yeah, that's kind of how he killed his victims, and that's what he said in court. There's videos of him actually admitting to all this, and they will all be down in the description below. So it says by 2004, the investigation of the B.T.K killer was a cold case. Then Rader initiated a series of 11 communications to local media, and this actively led directly to his arrest in February 2005. And it says in March 2004, the Wichita Eagle received a letter from someone using the return address Bill Thomas Kilman. Okay. The author of the letter claimed he had murdered Vic Wiggles on September 16th, 1986, and enclosed photographs of the crime scene and photocopies of her driver's license, which had been stolen at the time of the crime. Before this, it had not been definitively established that Wiggles was killed by B.T.K. DNA collected from under Wiggles' fingernails proved to police with previously unknown evidence. Okay. Then they began DNA testing hundreds of men in an effort to find the serial killer. Altogether, over 1,300 DNA samples were taken and later destroyed by court order. Well, shit. And then, May 2004, a television station, KAKE, in Wichita received a letter with chapter headings from B.T.K story, fake IDs, and a word puzzle. On June 9th, a package was found taped to a stop sign at the corner of the First and Kansas Road in Wichita. It had graphic depictions of the Ortoro murders and a sketch labeled, "The Sexual Thrill is My Bill." Well, we got a rhymer. Also enclosed was a chapter list of proposed book titles of B.T.K story, which mimicked a story written in 1999 by Court TV crime writer David Lohr. Chapter 1 was titled "A Serial Killer is Born." In July, a package dropped into the return slot at a public library contained more bizarre materials, including the claim that he was responsible for the death of 19-year-old Jack Allen in Aragon, Kansas, earlier that month. This claim was false and the death was ruled as suicide. Interesting. Very interesting. So when Rader was caught, he said he was planning to kill again, and he even went as far to set a date. October 2004, and he was stalking his intended victims, so they saved a life. So in October 2004, a manila envelope was dropped into a UPS box in Wichita. It had many cards with images of terror and bondage of children pasted on them. Oh. A poem threatening the life of lead investigator Lieutenant Ken Landwehr, and a false autobiography with many details about Rader's life. Interesting. These details were later released to the public in December 2004. Wichita police received another package from B.T.K. This time the package was found in Wichita's Murdoch Park. It had the driver's license of Nancy Fox, which was noted as stolen from the crime scene. Interesting. As well as a doll that was symbolically bound at the hands and feet and had a plastic bag tied around its head. Imagine fucking finding that. That'd be fucking disturbing. That's like one of them dark web mystery boxes or some shit, bro. That's fucked up. So we continued to send more letters and boxes and stuff. But, it says here that... Just a second. Ha 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 ha. So in one letter to police, Rader asked if his writings, if put on a floppy disk, could be traced or not. Dumbass. The police answered his question in the newspaper ad posted in the Wichita Eagle, saying it would be safe to use the disc. On February 16th, 2005, Rader sent a purple 1.44 megabyte Memorfex floppy disk to Fox TV affiliate KSAS TV in Wichita. Also enclosed were a letter, a gold-colored necklace with a large medallion, and a photocopy of the cover of Rules of Prey, a 1989 novel about a serial killer. So that's how they fucking caught him, the floppy disk. But police obtained a warrant to test a pap smear taken from Rader's daughter at the Kansas State University Medical Clinic. DNA tests showed a familial match between the pap smear and the sample from Waggle's fingernails. Yes, the one he sent some stuff about her in the letters, so it was all tied to B.T.K. This indicated that the killer was closely related to Rader's daughter, and combined with the other evidence was enough for police to arrest Rader. Well, shit. It also says here police found metadata embedded in the deleted Microsoft Word document that was unknown to Rader, still stored on the floppy disk. Oh shit, that he gave to the cops. What a guy. The metadata contained the words Christ Lutheran Church. Oh, so he used an envelope from the church or some shit. What the fuck? And the document was marked as last modified by Dennis. That's a fuck up. Oh shit. An internet search determined that Dennis Rader was president of the church council. When investigators drove by Rader's house, a black Jeep Cherokee, the type of vehicle seen at the Home Depot surveillance footage, was parked outside. This was strong circumstantial evidence against Rader, but they needed more direct evidence, which they got from the DNA and the floppy disk, all that shit. But yeah, that's a big fuck up right there. That's a big fuck up. But Rader was arrested while driving near his house in Park City shortly after noon on February 25th, 2005. An officer asked Mr. Rader, "Do you know why you're going downtown?" And Rader replied, "Oh, I have suspicions. Why?" Oh shit. And then the Wichita police, the Kansas Bureau of Investigations, the FBI and ATF agents searched Rader's home and vehicle, seizing evidence including computer equipment, a pair of black pantyhose retrieved from a shed, and a cylindrical container. The church he had attended, his office at City Hall, and the main branch of the Park City Library were also searched. At a press conference the next morning, Wichita Police Chief Norman Williams announced, "The bottom line, BTK is arrested." Well, shit. Shit. So it also says here on February 28th, 2005, Dennis Rader was charged with 10 counts of first-degree murder, and soon after his arrest, the Associated Press cited an anonymous source alleging Rader had confessed to other murders in addition to those of which he had been connected. Well, shite. On March 5th, a news source claimed to have verified by multiple sources that Rader had confessed to the 10 murders he was charged with, but no other ones. Word. On March 1st, his bail was set at $10 million, and a public defender was appointed to represent him. On May 3rd, the judge entered a not guilty plea on Rader's behalf, as Rader did not speak at his arraignment. And then on June 27th, the scheduled trial date, Rader changed his plea to guilty. He described the murders in detail and made no apologies. And then on August 18th, Sentencing victim families made statements after which Rader apologized in a rambling 30-minute monologue that prosecutor likened to an academic award acceptance speech. Well, shit. So he knew it was all over. He's getting a bunch of time. He could get put to death. I don't know if they have the death penalty there, but he was trying to get a lesser time, so he is faking all of it. He should have won an award for his acting. But his statement has been described as an example of an often observed phenomenon amongst psychopaths, their inability to understand the emotional content of language. So he was sentenced to 10 life sentences with a minimum of 175 years. Kansas had no death penalty at the time of the murders. Exactly what I was thinking. On August 19th, he was moved to El Dorado Correctional Facility. Huh. Word up. So, further investigations following Rader's arrest, police in Wichita, Park City, and several surrounding cities looked into unsolved cases with cooperation of state police and the FBI. They particularly focused on cases after 1994. When the death penalty was reinstated in Kansas, police in surrounding states such as Nebraska, Missouri, Colorado, and Oklahoma and Texas also investigated cold cases that fit Rader's pattern to some extent. And then the FBI and local jurisdictions at Rader's former duty stations checked into unsolved cases during Rader's time in the service. So they were investigating for a long time, and none of these things discovered any further murders attributed to Rader, and confirming early suspicions that Rader would have taken credit for any additional murders that he had committed. Yeah, that makes sense. But yes, he has 10 known murders and are now believed to be the only murders in which he actually committed. And word, fair enough. So then, all of his victims, there are 10. So we'll just give them a quick read here. Joseph Otero, Julia Marie Otero, Joseph Otero Jr., Josephine Otero, Catherine Dory Bright, Shirley Ruth Vina Relford, Janice Joe Fox, Marine Wallace Hedge, Vicky Lynn Wedgeler, and Dolores Eller Earline Johnson Davis. Well, shit. And yeah, there is all that. If you want any further information, links in the sources. But there are a few movies about him, and a few documentaries, and a few other shit, maybe some books and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting case. Definitely an interesting case. I guess another one of them heavy hitters, I guess you could say. But as well, that pretty much sums that up. But there is no emails for advice yet. But yeah, you'll know when there is, because I'll mention it right at the end like I'm doing now. But yeah. So that is Dennis Rader, aka B.T.K. Thank you for listening to this episode on the Murder House Radio Show. I hope you have a good rest of your Friday, or whenever you are listening to this. Check out the social medias and the sources in the description below. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Once you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification and select all if you are listening on YouTube. If you're listening on a podcasting platform, hit follow. Leave your suggestions for future episodes in the comments. See you next episode. This is your host X, signing off.